Okay, so we are looking at univariate data, and in this chapter we're going to look at one way of displaying our data so we can see like what the results, sort of a way of explaining, showing the data. So a frequency table is a way of displaying the data, okay? So, and why would we do this? Because if I gave, say I was in a job and we wanted to look at something, say we were measuring up the doors, so we wanted to see the heights of all of you. If I just give the person a whole heap of the list, it doesn't really summarize it for us. So these ways of presenting the data help summarize it and get information out quicker. So we often do a frequency table. So that's where we're going to see how often a certain thing occurs in our data list. So it helps compact it, and it tells us a way about the data and how it's distributed, meaning like we might have a lot of this one and not so many of the other one and things like that. So when we're going to count up the frequencies, and then often, so we can have a table where we just do the count. So that just says how many we've got. Sometimes we like to change the count to a percentage. So here, this is really important how we work out a percentage. Now, you might want to change this to be like this. Sometimes I like to say it's the amount over the total times 100. So, if you've got a certain category, you get that amount and you divide by how many there was in the whole data, and then you times it by 100. That's how you get a percentage. Okay, so let's go and do an example. So here we've got a set of data. 30 children chose a sandwich, a salad, or a pie for lunch as followed. Now, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to set up a frequency table. Now, sometimes they have, when they do the table, sometimes they have another, they might have another column where they say the tally, and then they'll say the number, and then they'll say the percentage. The tally is it can be a bit easier because we could go through, and when we do the tally, we can just cross it off, and we do sometimes we do those Roman numerals and we count them up. So we've got one sandwich, one salad, another salad, a pie, sandwich. So we keep going through until we get through all of them. So just in the blue, I did the tally just so it was easier and I could cross them off. Now, the thing to look out for up here, they said that there was a total, we know there's a total of 30 children. So when we add up here, we should make sure that we see that there was 30. So 7 plus 10 plus 13 is 30. So that's good. So we know we haven't missed one. So now when we want to write in the percentages, we're going to use that formula that we said before, where we said a percentage is equal to the amount over the total times 100. So what we would be doing here would be 7 out of the total of 30 times 100. And so what do we get? 23%. So let's round to a whole number. So then in the salad, we'd have 10 out of 30 times 100. So we get 33%. And then the last one would be 13 out of 30 times 100, which is going to be, we want it to add up to 100%. So I'm just going to round that one and say that it is 44. Okay? But it should be, if you wrote 43, I won't give it to you wrong. Okay, so there's a frequency table. So here we can see a lot of data really quickly if you gave someone the table. So what was the most popular? The pie. So when we say the pie equaled the most frequent, so we have a word for that. Does anyone know what most frequent is referred to in statistics? The mode. Good, well done. So the pi was the mode, the most popular. Okay, so now we're going to look at another way of displaying our data. And this is only when we have categorical data. So remember, we have to remember what that is. And we can use a bar chart. So just to go over, a bar chart looks like, it can be like this, or it can also, they can sometimes do it on the side like that. Okay, so what we need to make note of is that when it's a bar chart, this would be categories. So say we had eye colour, we might have blue, brown, green or whatever. So a bar chart definitely has categories, and it also, there's gaps in between these columns. So even here, there's gaps, okay? So a bar chart, that's, you got to be careful because there's some things we'll learn a bit later. So there's definitely a gap. So you can look, a bar chart's a good way to display data that we've got in a frequency table. So we can see here, now, in this one here, we've got a bar chart. Now we've got climate type. So they recorded the climate of a whole heap of countries, and what they classed them as either being cold, moderate or hot. So here's the categorical data. Now, is it nominal or ordinal? What do you think? Cold, moderate, hot?
That's ordinal.
That's ordinal. It's got an order to it. Okay, so you can see too, the other thing you've got to be really careful with a bar chart is that you could have a frequency where it's just the count, or you could have it's where it's a percentage. Okay, so I'm looking at this one, they've just made it a frequency. So I can read off, you can see that there was 3 cold and then there was 14 moderate. So we're reading it off. If they changed this to a percentage, we would have seen this to be 13% at this point, and this point would have been 60% or whatever. Okay, so we're just saying the mode, it was the most frequent. Why they say modal category, because if you remember before, we could have a category, remember when we have like, where we have a range, like we might say 0 to 9-year-olds, 10 to 14-year-olds or whatever. So that would be a category, like a range. So we often say it's a modal category. It's still the mode. Okay, so when we look, we're going to get these bar charts and we're going to have to describe it. So when you describe it, you have to describe the dominant category. So for this one in the climate, we would say the modal category was moderate temperature, and we might say with a total of 14 countries or with a total of 60%. And then you could say compared to hot, which was second highest with, you might say 26% and so on. So we've got a little example of a report. You can keep it brief. You can write a dot point. The important things in your report is that you are stating the modal category, the mode, and using stats. So, e.g., highest, so we might say the modal category was moderate temp with 60.9%. So there's me using a stat, okay? So we might say that, you then might say what follows or what's the lowest, but that's what we're looking for, that you're stating the dominance and the dominant one, and you're also using a stat to back that up. Okay, so we've got some guidelines. So briefly summarise, I do accept dot point. You can do dot point. Don't worry about all the jibber jab in between the points. Just dot it out. So state if there's a modal category, if frequency or percentages in the report percentages are generally preferred. We don't really care like what the total, we just want to know the percentage of what's happening. And if there is a lot of categories, it's not necessary to mention everyone. So with this one, with there's only 3, I probably do need to mention everyone. So I'd say the mode was moderate with 60, and then I would say then came hot with 26%, and cold being the lowest with 13%, okay? So I'm using the stats and I'm going to get all the marks there, okay? Okay, so they want me to create a bar chart from our data we had before. So what we would do is you're simply going to make sure you rule your lines. Now we've got, so the first one, they just want a frequency bar chart. Okay, so if you look at it, we had a maximum of 10, so maybe I'll just go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, and then under here we'll have our categories, so I might do sandwich, and these should be spaced apart. Then I'll have salad, then I'll have pie, and then obviously sandwich went up to 7, so my column would be up to 7. Salad went to 10, and then I had pie went to 13. Sorry, should have been way up here. Sorry, like that. So all this needs to be ruled and spaced out a bit better, but I'm just doing rough. Now, if you had the percentage, you'll draw the same thing, but if you have a percentage, you'll write the percentages. It would be like 0 here, and then you just mark them up. So it was 23% here, this was 33%, and this makes it up to 44%. Okay? Alright, so that's how you're going to construct them. So you can just do 2B today. Okay?